Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Little pop-up episode of the Slammers Recruiting Podcast, delivering value and expertise to the player, parent, and coach of the aspiring Colorado baseball player. Uh, the MLB dropped a bombshell that we want to talk about today. I'm going to read verbatim here from a release, and then Byron, you gave some good color to it. It sounds like what I'm about to read has been updated in the last couple of days, so feel free to fill in the gap here. So on June 18th, Major League Baseball sat down with the Players Association and put a proposal on the table that nobody in youth baseball saw coming. Here's what they proposed. Starting in 2028, high school players would be ineligible, completely removed from draft consideration. To be drafted, a player would need to be at least 20 years old by September 1st of their draft year and at least 2 years removed from their high school graduating class. For most players, that means finishing 2 full years of college before they ever hear their name called. Even first-year junior college players would be ineligible under this proposal. Beyond the age restriction, the draft itself would shrink from 20 rounds to 12. The total bonus pool would be cut nearly in half from $400 million in 2025 down to $200 million. Those bonuses would be hard slotted, meaning no negotiating. You get what the slot pays, period. Any player who goes undrafted, capped at $10K signing bonus. Under the current system, that player could sign for up to 150. MLB also proposed a brand new international draft, 12 rounds, $200 million draft pool, replacing the current system where international prospects can sign at 16. Under the proposal, that minimum age goes to 18. MLB says the goal is to strengthen college baseball and create a better development path. The Players Association calls it flat out bad for baseball and says it would eliminate over $1 billion in player compensation over the next 5 years. This proposal is part of collective bargaining negotiations. The current agreement expires December 1st, 2026. Nothing is finalized, but this becomes a new reality. If this becomes a new reality, amateur baseball pipeline as we know it is gone. You want to give us an update on that, Byron?
Yeah, it's kind of what you said, Tag. The reality is that when you look at high school talent and you look at some of where these kids are slotted in the draft, some of your first round guys and your second round guys, these guys are now going to be forced to go to college, mainly not because of where they're drafted, but because of the value in the slot. Some of these slot areas are below the value of NIL money. So it's going to be tough to sign somebody for $3 million when he's going to make $4 million at LSU. And then you make him spend 2 years in the SEC before he ever gets drafted again. The second part of that is when you look at the international draft, many of the international kids have never wanted a draft. This has been proposed before. But because there's not a salary cap on the free agent market, they wouldn't want to draft. You talk about a $200 million pool. Well, they don't have a pool as a free agent. So this major league pool, if passed, is going to radically change college baseball, even more so than the 5-for-5 rule.
Yeah. Reading between the lines here, coach, this is what MLB is saying without saying it. High school draft picks are risky, and the depth of international talent has grown to the point that they're comfortable with creating this 2 draft system. What do you think about it, and how does it change the ecosystem of recruiting?
Yeah, I think it's great for college baseball, first of all. I think all of college baseball, junior college, Division II, Division I. I think it's fantastic for the quality of players that'll be in college and get an opportunity to develop. And I think it's great for players because I think when you're 18, you sign a professional contract and you go out and you play professional baseball every day, you haven't learned some of the things that you need to learn in order to survive and be successful at that level. And so you could get off track really easy at 18. They're saying, hey, let's wait till they're 20. It's a better investment, and there's a better chance that they're going to be a little bit more mature and be able to handle the grind of professional baseball. I also see it, professional baseball is very smart right here where they're like, hey, we've been wasting money on high school draft picks, been wasting money on international picks that aren't making it because we get them at 16 and we can't foresee what they're going to be like at 20. Between 20 and 24 is when they really need to impact and be in professional at the big league level. So I think it's brilliant by professional baseball, but I think on the flip side of it, it really helps. And I think shrinking the draft to 12 rounds is fantastic fantastic. You know, the way the professional baseball was impacted after COVID when they went to 5 rounds and they eliminated 160 players in every single organization and they eliminated teams in every organization. I think it's great. 12 rounds is plenty enough. And then the free agent signs plenty enough. You know, are some kids going to slip through the cracks and not be seen and not make it? There's a chance of that happening with this, but there's also a chance that you're going to be able to save a lot of money and you're going to really get the better bang for your dollar if you're a professional organization and if you're a college organization. I mean, I would love to have better players at the college level to be able to develop them. So recruiting is going to be of a premium.
Coach, do you think that it changes the player profile, the ideal player profile for schools? If so, at what level? It probably does at the top. Well, how do you think it's going to change the trickle down effect and change how the opportunities are presented to high school kids?
Yeah, it's definitely going to change, right? So you're going to get more of an opportunity to see the development physically of these kids. Right now, you just had to be bigger, faster, stronger in order to go in those top few rounds, in order to get the money, in order to start professional baseball. Now you're going to have some kids that are late bloomers that can play 3 sports, that are going to be able to come in, and you're going to get more of an opportunity to get more athletes and make a much wiser decision. The grading scale, you know, when you're grading a kid at 16 years old versus grading a kid when he's 20 years old and he has some man strength, it's going to be a lot safer situation. But the trickle down effect, it's going to open more opportunities in college baseball. But I also think this too, that the stronger are going to get stronger. And this rule really benefits the Power Four conferences, and it really benefits the top tier programs because now they can take junior college players after 2 years. They can take all their high school players that they want that don't go in the top 12 rounds and they're not losing them anymore. They can take anybody else's top tier players in that 5th year if they want. So there's no chance of catching the top tier programs at this point under the current system and what Major League Baseball is doing. So I think it's a win-win for everybody, actually.
Byron, I've gone to the last few Beast of the East tournaments in Atlanta, in East Cobb. What I've noticed is to the point where I saw very little college coaching presence. They're evaluating talent. This is what I think is going to happen. So there's going to be a lot fewer, well, if any, pro scouts at high school games anymore if they're not eligible for the draft. And what it's going to do is I think what it's going to do is it's going to bring college coaches back to the field to put eyes on people that they want as freshmen. How do you see the development pipeline, the competitive circuit? How is this going to change the college presence at those types of tournaments?
I think just like you said, it's going to bring more college coaches back to the high school field because again, high school guys are not eligible to be selected in the draft. And when you do that, I think it gives you the opportunity to go and find that 16-year-old and you can watch him develop. You can watch him pace himself and develop throughout for the next 2 years and figure out where he's going to land. But the big part is, how does that impact this 5-for-5 deal? And how does the 5-for-5 integrate it into what Major League Baseball is proposing? And again, this thing could be a mess, and really colluded for a lot of people and a lot of schools.
So do you think? I mean, there's no way for us to predict the numbers and how they'll affect. But if you're taking out junior college players, I'm sure there's close to hundreds. Well, there's only 20 rounds now, so I'm sure there's dozens of first year of freshman JUCO guys that were getting drafted that won't. There clearly was hundreds, right? Close to hundreds, at least. I would think of high school players in a 20-round system that are now in there. Do I have more opportunity or less opportunity if I'm a marginal recruit? Does this take me as a mid-major guy and put me into junior college, or does it create more opportunities for me in that mid-major tier, as an example? Yeah, is it more or less? How does this help?
Well, let's start at the top of this. With this 5-for-5 rule, if you're not a top 250 recruit, don't try to go to the Power Four conference. Go to your mid-major, play right away, ball out, transfer, and then go get your NIL money or whatever you want to do. But what's happening now, Tagg, is that you're going to see more and more of these freshmen cut from their college program because we have a 4-year attrition recruiting cycle into a 5-year attrition recruiting cycle. Like we talked about before the show, we've got schools that recruited kids thinking they had 4 years. Now you tell them they have 5. So what happens to the incoming freshmen?
Yeah, I also think too, though, I mean, go back one stage right here. This is great for parents and for recruits because you know the pressure that all these parents that are on this are feeling like, hey, Joey's not getting recruited. We're going to these showcases. We're going here. We're going to East Cobb. There's no attention, right? It's going to give them a chance to take a deep breath and be like, okay, I can get recruited as a junior. I could get recruited as a senior. I could get recruited at a junior college. I could get recruited out of a mid-major. I could also get recruited out of a top-tier Division I program. I mean, there's a kid just today from USC that played at the University of Southern California, 17 home runs, right? And he's going to his 4th school right now. But he was a top Division I player, 17 home runs. They were 1 game away from going to a national championship. And now he's going to his 4th Division I university to play. And the reason he's doing that in year 5 is because now he's going to get paid and possibly USC can't pay him. So he's going to go somewhere where he could get paid. So just add on all of those opportunities to make money and to be paid and to go on and play the sport. The 5 for 5, and I know we're going to get into it, but I think, Byron, where it's going to impact the most are the guys that have been there for 4 years and they're not good enough to impact the program. And so those kids are going to really get squeezed out. In year 5, you're going to be like, well, I've seen you here for 4 years. You're not making a huge impact. We really need you to move on. And they're like, hey, well, I got 1 more year of eligibility. And you're like, yeah, but you're not going to have an opportunity to play. So the high school freshmen going to really impact them. But the guys that don't develop, because honestly, when we sit here and we talk, right, after 2 years, the pros are going to go to pro ball, right? The best pros are going to go in those top 12 rounds and go on to professional baseball. If you don't go in those top 12 rounds and you go to year 3 and now you're not a professional athlete, in year 4, you're not a professional athlete, why would you stay for a 5th year? Why would a Division I coach be like, oh yeah, I'd just like to put you on the roster and keep you here instead of going back into the talent pool and getting a player that could impact them for the next 3 years? Yeah, so it's going to cause a lot of problems there, but it's going to give a lot of opportunities too.
Byron, if I'm a parent of a 14 or 15-year-old kid, how does this change my mindset and my approach and my strategy to land a college opportunity?
Well, I think a lot of parents have to be realistic of what opportunity we're talking about. I mean, Division I baseball is not the only baseball out there, right? And I think, to put a pin in that real quick, this rule is only a Division I rule right now. D2 only has 4 years. D3 only has 4 years. NAI only has 4 years, right? So that's just a Division I rule going for the 5. So if as a parent of a 14 or 15-year-old parent, I'm going to keep doing the same thing, keep training, keep working hard, keep doing the things that I need to be doing. And if I land in a mid-major, so be it. If I land in a junior college, so be it. But I think wherever you go, you must perform and show that you're an impact guy to keep going up the ladder.
Coach, there's every major league organization in my entire life and before probably split the country up into 4 regions. And then they have scouts who work almost primarily full time recruiting the high school guys. So that job just became obsolete. Do you think the major universities, are the big schools going to hire scouts now?
Yeah, I think you're already seeing that at every major university as they're hiring recruiting coordinators. Well, you've always had a recruiting coordinator, but he was the pitching coach. You had a recruiting coordinator, but he was the infield or the hitting coach. Now you're going to have a hitting coach, a pitching coach, a defensive catching coach. Now you're going to have a recruiting coordinator that all he does is recruit. And then he's going to have 2 or 3 guys underneath him that all they do is scout on the internet, the transfer portal, and they're going to scour the country and they're going to go to the Cape Cod and watch summer baseball and not have any coaching responsibilities whatsoever, just recruiting. just scouting.
Yeah.
And so they're
And you
going
see
to,
that in football and basketball. They're called general managers, and all
Yeah.
they do is roster procurement.
yeah, the guy from Oklahoma just left after they won a national championship.
Todd
and
Butler.
and he just took a job at Florida as their recruiting in charge of all of their recruiting. So he'll take care of that, right? And when you look at what's happening at South Carolina and you look at them filling their roster of coaches, I mean, it's fantastic what it's doing for college baseball. I mean, assistant coaches are making really good money and they don't have the same responsibilities that we used to have. Three coaches, and in those three coaches, you had to run your camps, you had to do your recruiting, you had to take care of your facility, you had to order the equipment, you had to take care of the travel, like, all of it, right? Now you have one specific person taking care of all of that. So if I go in and all I do is coach infield, pretty good job.
Right.
Pretty good job.
Right.
Just to focus in on teaching infield play every single day, or being the catching coach and not having 17 other responsibilities along the lines of what I'm doing. I can just focus in and really specialize. And I think when I say that to you, that's where the development is going to come from, is at the college level.
My brain's still wrapping my mind, still trying to wrap my mind around all of this, Byron. But is it easier to develop as a player? I really needed good coaching from the time that I was 18 to 21 to get to where I was going to go. Right. With how fluid everything is and the roster caps and all of that let's just, to Nino's point about how coaching is going to get not easier, but less distracted. So let's assume that manifests as the coaching is better. But me as a player, if I'm a player, am I going to be developed the same? Or is it more incumbent upon me to train myself and seek external resources in doing that? Like, what is your take on that?
It's split down the middle. When you talk to former major league guys, they say there's no way that a college coaching staff can develop a major league player the way a major league staff could in minor leagues. They say that. And when they say that, I'm not sure if they're referring to the knowledge base or the time constraints. Remember, the NCAA only gives you 20 hours. In Major League Baseball, you don't have 20 hours. You've got all day, every day. So it's going to be interesting to see if college baseball can produce major league athletes the same way a minor league staff, a hitting coordinator, pitching coordinator would be able to do. I think many of your college programs have more resources. They have more equipment. They have more tech, and just as much technology as you do at the pro level. So that really remains to be seen. I know for me, I got more real pitching information at the pro level than I did in college, just because I had so many pitching guys around me.
Yeah. The time thing is a big deal. And then how the MCAA polices that and caps the hours, that's going to be interesting how it manifests in 4 to 5 years. Coach, I just feel like the base running and defensive strategy and instinct is just going to get awful. That's where
Yeah. And I see it now, like even in professional baseball, but I think it's going to condense down, and I think it's going to put some pressure on professional baseball to pay their coordinators and their coaches more money, because college baseball is going to take a lot of their top level talent into college, because you don't have to be away from your family for 9 months. You can actually have a home and be in one spot, and you're not going to move from A ball to double A to triple A to a coordinator to the big leagues. You're going to stay in college. You're going to get yourself a home. You're going to have some kids. You're going to coach the same amount of hours. But I think it's going to pose a lot of problems. I think the development right now that I'm seeing, it needs to get better at every level. I mean, every level. It just needs to get better.
Byron, where I see this headed is, so like I said off the top, that this means, like what they're saying without saying, they don't find the value in drafting the high school kid anymore, I think for obvious reasons. If they're and they're willing to invest the same amount of budget in an international draft, that is a significant development over the last 2 decades. That means the depth of baseball development in young teenage players is obviously improved immensely. Do you see this working its way? Like, it's not uncommon at all anymore, if I'm watching a college basketball game, to see a roster that it's sprinkled with foreign players. Do you see these maybe not high draft picks that are coming out of the international players, is this going to cross pollinate a little bit and create a lot of international players in college baseball?
Well, that's one of the things people talked about. Was talking to some of the podcasters earlier and some of the coaches, wondering if college baseball will go to Latin America and bring Latin kids who typically may go to judo and only play for Division One level. We see it in basketball, we see it in soccer. I think no reason why baseball wouldn't do the same thing.
Yeah, for sure, Coach. If you're let's think about the college program that has a lot of resources. Just to Byron's point and what he said, what do you think's going to change about? I asked earlier about the player profile, but now let's just talk about the recruiting philosophy of the top schools. You've been you were the recruiting coordinator at Arizona State for a number of years, right? So you've been in that mindset of, all right, these are the guys I can go after, and I'm going to go after them. How is this going to change that? If you have international players and all of the top high school kids to go after, what sort of changes do you see in the recruiting philosophies of the bigger school?
Yeah, it just opens up everything for you, right? As far as it even opens up all of Division II, all of NAIA, all of junior college, all the international players. You're going to have to get more centralized in understanding, like, do we want players for 2 years, and how many of those players do we want for 2 years, and what is that pool going to look like? Do we want to have players for 4 years, and what does that pool look like? And then do we want to have players for 1 year, because those are the fifth year guys, 5 for 5. And what does that pool look like? And then you have to look at how do you build your roster based on that, but you have way more opportunities. So say you lose 9 players and you got to go get 9 guys for 1 year. And then the back end, you got to get international players for 2 years that are going to give you an opportunity. It's going to be an interesting dynamic for the top level programs. I think for the mid majors, it's the same. You're going to recruit players, you're going to lose players, you're going to get transfer portal players in there. You're going to go look at the junior colleges, but you're going to get a better caliber of player because less of those players are going to be in professional baseball.
Yeah, I see this moving in a direction where there's going to be, I think some of the northern schools that aren't in great weather or great facility types of environments might shrink and might go away. And where I see this working is in areas of the country that have nice weather and have the potential for nice facilities. I really see this increasing the importance of leadership at a university to say, let's build a competitive baseball program. It's going to, we have the facilities to do it. We can draw on a multitude of talent. The notoriety that it's going to be brought to the program, and just even thinking of it like the trickle down effect to be like, okay, if we have a coach that we really believe in, who can develop talent, and we start having players get drafted out of here, I see what would be previously a bunch of no-name schools, probably from the southern part of the United States, that kind of emerge and be players in these players in this new market. Byron, what do you think of that?
Well, I'd agree with that. I mean, you think about places like the University of Tulsa, they don't play baseball, right? You think about if northern schools decided to close their baseball program because of all the stuff going with NCAA and collective bargaining agreement. If they say, hey, we can't fund it, we're going to close it. You think about teams in warm climates that don't play baseball that will form programs. You think, like I said, you think about Tulsa. You think about the University of Colorado. You think about the University of Wyoming. Those places could really formulate a sustainable program and thrive because of that.
I also think too, though, the next move for Division I, Division II is to move the baseball season to the summer, just like professional baseball. I think that'll be the next thing to look at when you look at it. If you want to get international players, if you want to, if there's only 12 rounds of the draft, they're going to move the season to where they play in better weather. Everybody plays in better weather. So there's no reason to try to strain yourself and play baseball in Chicago in January and February, right? why not move the season just like professional baseball? Move the season to April, right? April, May, June. When the draft comes, the season is over so that those 12 rounds can happen. And I know we're in this to educate the parents, but that's going to be the next big move is moving the season so that we can play college baseball across the country in kind of an even market and not in such a strained market that we play in right now.
Yeah, that's kind of a segue into what's been cooking in my mind while listening to you guys talk is I feel like there's going to be an increase in the number of summer collegiate leagues that are out there because there's going to be a need for more competitive environments for guys that were previously going out and playing minor league baseball. Yeah, speak a little bit, Byron, to the collegiate summer scene, and where you see it going. And you also have you're in the know about how the portal is going to work. Does this change the portal? Right? Does it change that at all? And just for speaking from a development standpoint in the collegiate summer leagues, how do you see this changing that as well?
Well, I think it definitely changed the portal from the standpoint of if we have 5 years of eligibility, you graduate college in 4 years. So think about all the kids who graduate who still have another year eligibility. They become grad transfers. As a grad transfer, the portal rules are different. There is no transfer window. You can get in the portal nearly anytime you want. So a lot of these kids that are going to be grad transfers, they will enter the portal before the season even starts. So you're playing for school A while every other school in the country can still see that you're in the portal, right? And I think with summer baseball, as it pertains to the portal, as we talked about, a lot of these kids are getting in the portal because they had bad seasons. Well, by going to ball, you get to correct some of the wrongs. The summer gives you chances to correct some of the wrongs that he didn't get right in the spring. I'm looking at a lot of guys now coming out of the portal that had, because they have a good summer, that had really subpar springs. And I think summer baseball will be utilized just in that nature.
Yeah. Coach, where I see this going is that they're going to end up having these baseball fests where they're going to host college tournaments at the same place as big high school tournaments so that they can generate revenue from the high school tournaments to come view the college matchups. And then they're there to go recruit and evaluate talent. I like your idea about the summer side of things. The thought of how this changes how the business of baseball and how the competitive circuit of particularly high school athletics, it changes things. Yeah. What would you tell a parent of a 14, 15, 16-year-old right now to do? What should they start this week or what should they start thinking about as they go into their last 2 or 3 years of high school? How do they best take advantage of what just happened?
I think obviously my song and dance has been the same. Develop, 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 develop. Just keep developing and develop if you're no matter where you're at. Just work on development, work on getting stronger, work on developing your skills, work on understanding how important now it's going to be to stay away from the temptations that are out there for young players that take them off track, right? Those temptations are going to still be there at every level. And you got to figure out how to get past those landmines, right? You got to figure out how to deal with alcohol. You got to figure out how to stay away from drugs. You got to figure out how to understand relationships and build quality relationship with your coaches and with people outside of baseball. Because those same temptations are going to take people off no matter what, no matter how we condense this down. And so the more developed the person is psychologically, and the better decisions they make and the better they develop themselves, the more opportunities that are out there for them. And I think that's never going to change. One thing I'd like to go back to for the 5 for 5, right? Most every player I've coached needs 5 years in college in order to develop. I mean, you're a 1%er, Tagg. In your sophomore year, 31 home runs, led the country, right? You would have signed in this 12-round draft, no doubt, right? So there's no question about guys like yourself, but it's those other guys that need to develop or get injured or don't have a great fall and they're not going to play. And so you can redshirt them, right? Instead of trying to get them ahead. It's very similar. Like in professional baseball, you have a high school kid that you draft. You don't want to send him to AA because he's not ready. And if he fails, you're probably going to lose the opportunity for that guy to be a prospect. It's the same thing in college. You're going to need that 5th year for a lot of those players in order to develop. and give them an opportunity. And realistically, how many players do you know that go through a college season, 4 years of a college season, pitching wise, that don't become injured, or position players that are not injured, right? So that I think that's why the 5-for-5 makes the most sense. Is it just eliminates all the BS. I do see though, if you're the NCAA, there's a ton of lawsuits coming your way.
Oh yeah.
Because if I finish this year and now everyone else gets another year and I don't get that year, I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Why do I not get a fifth year? Why am I finished at 4 years and now all of a sudden the clock starts in 2026 for 5 years? I think there's going to be a lot of people standing in line right now.
And I think the other thing behind that, you guys, is there's no more red shirts.
No red shirt.
This 5-for-5 eliminated all red shirts, medical red shirts, and certain hardships. The only way you get a hardship now is a religious reason or military.
Wow.
So if you go a year and you don't play, it counts as a year being played. If you have to have Tommy John, it counts as a year played.
We can wrap it up here and each give one thing. I'll kick it off of how this changes things and my best advice on how to navigate it for a Colorado baseball parent. I had a conversation with multiple parents of an 11-year-old team, and I was astounded a little bit at how seriously they were taking it. And the types of conversations and the types of decisions that they were forcing 11-year-olds to have. That being said, I think that once you're 13 years old, that it's go time. If you're serious about pursuing an opportunity at the next level. And what I think that this does in particular, which we've mentioned on shows before, I have mentioned on shows before, is that when the Colorado athlete goes out of state, the first thing that I notice when we go to those national tournaments is how much bigger and stronger most of the other teams are. And what I think that this does, and how if we look back on this episode 5 years from now, and we think of how it's changing the reality of the Slammers families and the Slammers families that we see in 5 years from now, is that I got to tell you, you better figure out by the time you're 13 or 14, you're going to need a solid 4 or 5 years of investing in your diet and investing in your body and investing in your skill, because the opportunities are less. They're probably better. I'm going to be honest with you right now. I think that this is good for the state of baseball. I think it's good for the sport of baseball. I think it's going to create fanfare. It's going to create a connection in the pipeline from top athletes at schools that end up becoming major league players. I think it's good for the sport of baseball. I also agree with Coach that I think it's going to make the coaching better, no doubt. But I think it's also going to make it more competitive. So my best advice for a Slammers parent that is trying to read between the lines here and figure out what to do is the strength and conditioning and skill development has now become more important with this single thing. Byron, kick it off to you. Coach, you can wrap it.
I think to go on the back end of that, I'm living in Kentucky. This is SEC country. And the high school baseball that I saw this year was very different than what I saw in Colorado. These kids were big, they were physical, they threw hard, and they hit real home runs. And when I look back at the Colorado kid, Ted, I have to agree with you. They must become bigger, they must become faster, and they must really enhance the skill development, just because the speed of the game is radically different everywhere else in the country. I agree with you.
I echo for both of you guys. I think this is great for college baseball. I think this is great for Colorado. I think this is great for kids in cold weather states that are trying to develop and catch up. Give them 5 years to play, 5 years, and really show what kind of player they can actually become. Some are going to develop quicker than others, but I also think this is going to value education more than anything, where it's like, okay, you can really separate yourself. And we're talking international kids, I'm talking Colorado kids, I'm talking every kid. This values education, because we're like, okay, look, you can go to professional baseball, but you have to go to college. In order to go to college, you got to be a good student. In order to be a good student, that's what's going to get you going in this direction. And so you could really separate yourself academically. I think when I was 6 years old, I had a little piece of paper inside of my Bible, and I said, I want to be a professional baseball player when I was 6. And I look back at that, I can still see it. I still see that piece of paper that I wrote to myself at 6 years old. So I wasn't waiting until I was 13. A lot of kids say it at 6 years old. I don't know how many of them mean it. A lot of them say it at 13. And no matter what age you say it at, if you say it at 13, then you have to be committed to that. You can't just say it like, hey, I want to be rich, but I don't know how to save money. Hey, I want to be fast, but I don't run. I want to be strong, but I don't lift weights. I want to be an athlete. I have to commit myself to being an athlete and what that is to be an athlete.
Yeah, well said. Can't wait for the reaction episode in 2028. Byron, thanks for actioning on this. I wish you the
Always a
best
pleasure,
of
my
luck.
friend.
Yeah, man, this is great for you too. I know that you're out there fighting a good fight for a lot of people in the portal and getting people placed. Definitely going to continue to tap into you, man. This is very interesting, and it's going to be interesting where it turns out. All right, thanks,
Awesome.
guys.
All right, guys, we'll see you.